It is morning in the ancient city of Baghdad. Above the city rises the dome of a mosque. From the tower-like minaret comes the Muslim call to prayer. At the sound of the call, Muslims kneel to pray. They are some of the millions of Muslims who live in many lands that form the Muslim world today. That world includes countries that stretch from Morocco to Pakistan and Indonesia. Centers of this Muslim world are a group of ancient and famous cities. Here we'll find Muslims in downtown Cairo, amongst the traffic of busy streets. In Old Jerusalem, on narrow historic byways. In Damascus, ancient capital of the Muslim world. And in Istanbul, on broad modern avenues. We'll find Muslims in Syria, riding along ancient trails. In Iraq, harvesting grains in the fields. And in North Africa, living on the desert. And all these people are of the same religious faith, a faith that goes back 1,300 years to desert dwellers in Arabia. The time is about 570 AD. In the desert town of Mecca, Muhammad was born, and there he first preached. Tribes of desert nomads were among the first to accept Muhammad's teachings. Perhaps the simple life of the desert dwellers with its code of honor and friendship helped the new religion, Islam, to spread. For Islam emphasized the spirit of kindness, equality, and brotherhood. But it was also a fighting spirit. Soon after Muhammad's death, his followers conquered Arabia, and then with fiery zeal carried the faith into lands beyond Arabia, into Syria, into Palestine, Egypt, Persia, Spain, and a portion of India. By the year 750, a vast Muslim empire had been created, held together by the Islamic faith. Basis of the faith was the Quran, a collection of Muhammad's sayings and teachings. For more than 1,300 years, Muhammad's words have been taught from the Quran. There is only one God, Allah, and Muhammad is his prophet. The idea of only one God was similar to the earlier Hebrew and Christian concept of God. The new religion that Muhammad preached spread rapidly among the masses of the East. And wherever it spread, mosques were built as places of worship. This one in Jerusalem is said to mark the place from which Muhammad ascended to heaven. The sign of the crescent is the symbol of the Muslim faith, a faith which competed with the earlier faith of Christianity. The symbol of the cross and the symbol of the crescent collided wherever the two met. In Palestine, in Constantinople, and in Spain. In Spain, the Muslim occupation centered in such cities as Seville, Cordova, and Granada. These cities became centers of the Muslim or Moorish culture in Spain. Palaces such as the Alhambra in Granada are lasting examples of the Muslim way of life, a graceful, cultured way of living that influenced European civilization and eventually our own. After the conquest of Spain, Muslims and Christians clashed in Palestine, the Holy Land. From 1096 to 1291, military expeditions of Christians, the Crusades, went from Europe to the Holy Land. The ancient city of Jerusalem, sacred to both Christians and Muslims, was conquered and reconquered as the Moors fought to expel the invading Crusaders. Theirs was a faith based on Muhammad's words, "Fight for Allah's cause against those who fight you." And so war was made as Crusaders and Moors joined in the struggle for the Near East. Gradually, some armies of the Crusaders established themselves in the Holy Land. There they built great feudal castles. This one in Syria is one of the great landmarks of the Crusades in the Near East. Such strongholds were centers of European life in the Moslem Empire. The cities of Damascus, Mosul, and Baghdad were the cultural centers of that empire. Ancient Baghdad was the romantic city of the Arabian Nights, the city from which, according to the story, Sinbad the sailor set out on his voyage of adventure. The story of Sinbad was among the romantic tales that have come to us from Moslem literature. This literature was part of the Moslem culture which the Crusaders carried to Europe when they returned home. We can still find Moslem influence in our language. Our word damask comes from Damascus, the city where this kind of cloth was made. Our word coffee is an Arabic word. Another Arabic word is caraway, our name for this common spice. Our word Muslim comes from Mosul, the city once famous for its fine cotton cloth. From Mosul, Damascus, and other cities came products for which the Moslem world was famous. Beautifully woven carpets were eagerly bought by the Western world. Famous, too, were Moslem weapons, such as the keen swords made of Damascus steel. These products and others were carried by camels to lands reaching from Spain to India. On their travels, the Muslims also introduced many ideas of agriculture. They planted date palms in Mediterranean countries, and dates were among the fruits they introduced into Europe. Oranges and other citrus fruits were also introduced. Other contributions of Muslim farmers included systems of irrigation, many plant products and methods of farming, and improved strains of sheep and other livestock. Probably the Arabian horse is the most famous livestock contribution of the Muslim world. A decorated saddle is an example of another kind of contribution, the art of tooling leather. Tooled leather and silver engraving are among the many decorative arts in which the Muslims excelled. They developed abstract designs in which words of the Koran are often included. And the Korans themselves are often examples of decorative art. In making their books, the Muslims used paper, a contribution which they brought from China and passed on to the Western world. From Hindu India, Arab scholars borrowed concepts of mathematics, including the idea of the zero. We call our numerals Arabic numerals, and our word algebra is an Arabic word. In chemistry, Arab scientists made many contributions and gave us such words as benzene, alcohol, and alkali. These contributions and many more are part of the culture of the Muslim world. In Constantinople, that world reached its full development. Today, in Istanbul, as the city is now called, we still see something of the splendor of the Muslim world. As in the past, the city is still the bridge between Europe and Asia, between the Western world and the Muslim world. Within the city is the palace where the sultans ruled for 5 centuries. We can get some idea of the power and splendor of the sultan rulers when we see the mosques they built. Suleiman the Magnificent, who built this mosque, ruled in the 15th century. Most famous of all mosques is Santa Sofia, a historic landmark of 2 cultures. Built by the Romans as a Christian church, it was later converted by the Muslims to a mosque. Today it is a museum, open to all peoples. Our world benefited by the many contributions of Muslim culture. That culture, based on a deep religious faith, has greatly influenced the world in which we live.